here has had it where you have recently been in traffic and it's been frustrating? Or who here has had it, let the record reflect that just about every hand has gone up. Who here has had it where you've been in traffic and maybe somebody's cut you off? Let me see that. Okay. Who here has ever been in traffic where somebody has cut you off? Okay, so we all have a sense of that. So we're being cut off in traffic. Now when you're cut off in traffic, you tend to have thoughts. What might be some of the thoughts you have when you're cut off in traffic?
Murder.
Murder. that sort of is over here maybe, but we can say, like, I want to murder. Murder. That person. Not to be confused with Michael. What else?
Bleed.
Bleed, right.
It's like multiple bleeps.
Okay, multiple bleeps. What else could you be thinking in that moment that somebody cut you off? Remember, you're like, yes.
Since a child, my dad always said, "Nice bleeper, asshole."
Right.
Because no one uses it.
Right.
We're adults.
What's one more thought we might have in that moment? Yes.
I try to plan how I'm going to cut them off.
Okay. Try to plan. So we start steaming. Okay, we're steaming. Now, on top of these thoughts, or running alongside these thoughts, we have feelings. So what might be some of the feelings that you have as you're planning to get your revenge, as you're saying, you know, what the nice blinker, you're feeling you want to murder, you're in alignment on that, right? What feelings might you be experiencing in that moment?
I didn't say anything. I said revenge.
Revenge! Okay, so what's the feeling? That's
Irate.
Huh?
Irate.
Irate.
Fury.
Fury. What else might you be feeling in that moment?
Resentment.
Anger.
Maniacal.
Maniacal. These aren't feelings necessarily. I'm having a hard time remembering where to place maniacal. They're somewhere. And what did you say? Somebody said
Irate.
revenge. Revenge is also it sort of straddles these things. Revenge can be a lot of thoughts and a feeling, so bundled up. What else might you feel? Anger, irritation, fury.
You know, sometimes I feel scared if it's near, you know, really close near death.
Yes, that's a good reason to feel scared. Because you don't know for a few moments what's happening, especially if you're surprised, which is why the body kicks into. Okay, so you feel fear. Now, on top of these thoughts and these feelings, what else do we experience in that moment if we're paying attention, which of course we may not be for good reason?
Compassion.
Heart rate.
Heart rate. So heart rate is what? Heart rate is a
Physical
sensation in the body.
Sensation, yeah.
Focus.
Body sensation. And we have the heart rate, which tends to do what?
Increase.
Goes up. And what else do we sense in the body? What else are we experiencing in the body? Huh?
Tension.
Tension. Where might the tension be?
Knuckles. Your white knuckling.
Knuckles,
Shoulder.
Your neck.
the neck.
My right foot when I slam my brakes.
His right foot. Where else might you feel tension?
If your eyes flare up.
Your eyes, right?
Nostrils.
Nostrils. Where else might you feel? What other kinds of sensations might you experience?
Short breath.
Shortness of breath.
I really hope no one gets cut off today. Middle
Okay, now we turn up the finger. Okay, now the finger was just mentioned. Let's take a moment and reflect on the finger. Is the finger a thought? Is the big finger a feeling? Is the finger a sensation? Did you want to add to the...
I was going to mention something that you mentioned earlier, but I guess once you finish that point.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we then have our reaction. Very nice. We have our reaction. Which oftentimes when we're in this state is a what? It's an overreaction, right? And we've talked before about how in mindfulness we say there's a reaction and a response, right? So a reaction would be maybe something, but here we're saying overreaction to make it clear that what we're about to do vis-a-vis the finger might be an overreaction. So who said finger? Who?
Me.
Yeah. We're all works of art. This work of art looks like that. Okay, so we can give the person the finger.
You, and then say you work of art.
What else might we do as an overreaction as you're planning your...
Okay,
Okay, hold on, we're going to speed. Anybody Anybody have you ever sped past the person and cut them off?
Yeah, well, it's my favorite line now.
Amazing. It's my favorite.
You said nothing.
What else can we do that's an overreaction? Honk. We honk the horn.
Yeah.
Okay, now, as you know. Now, bear in mind
You have to.
that when you speed up and cut them off, Akesha, when you are speeding up and cutting them off, when you're speeding up and cutting them off, they're likely to have what?
Yeah, this is
Thoughts, right? They'll have thoughts. And what might their thoughts be? Right? And then they're going to have feelings, right?
I don't think so.
And what are their feelings going to be?
Remorse.
Right? And then they're going to have sensations.
Wait.
And what?
I want to disagree.
Hold on, not just yet. You lost your right to disagree. And then we're going to have sensations in the body. I am sensitive to our time, so
That's fair.
bear with me. And then we're going to have sensations in the body, which will be what? So right, so you speed up and cut them off, or you honk, or you give them the finger, and the more in their face it is, the more they're likely to, just like what they did, was the more in your face, the more likely. Could also create the fear, create the anger, all those same thoughts. And it goes around and around and around, until at some point in time, somebody has to make a right-hand turn, right? Somebody slows down and goes, whoa, right? Or not. Sometimes it doesn't, right? Now, the mindfulness invitation and reminder is this. There's a couple of things to have us take away and reflect on. The first is that at any given moment, truly any given moment, you can what? Become aware. Now, along the way, however, it's like there's this match. We walk around with this match. And it's sort of right there, wherever we go, it's this match. Right? And it's just waiting to be what? And if something's unwanted, undesirable, unexpected, unpleasant, it tends to have the resistance. We're resisting that moment. And of course, it is resistance which sparks that match. And then it begins to, what?
Burn.
Burn. Now, where do we feel it the most?
Your finger.
Here. Where do we feel it in this spiral? When you begin to have an abstract thought that begins to turn into maybe a plan or maybe a... Or is anger and rage and irritation and fear, right? Okay, now ponder this for a moment. When is it easier to put out the fire? Here or here? So it's easier to put it out up here, but it's more likely that you're aware at some point that you're caught in this thing here. Note the paradox. This happens so quick. Now, at any given moment, though, we can become aware, and if we're skillful, to your point then earlier, aware and skillful, we're able to do what? We can slide off this. Maybe this weekend you'll be with a loved one, a partner, a friend, a family member, and somebody will say something. Right? What might somebody say who you love that nonetheless lights your little match? What might you hear?
I told you so.
I told you so. And then what might be some thoughts?
Murder.
And feelings. What might be the feelings? Anger, right? Right? Just, no one asked for it. You know, you're not trying to gen it up. It's just happening. Where are the sensations in the body that you might feel it? Right? And then what might you do? Say something, right? And then that becomes, and then it goes around and around. So when we are practicing, so this is called life. Right? This is called life. This is just, in many ways, an event. Somebody pulled you off in traffic, cut you off in traffic. If you were singing a song on your little iPod thing, or you were listening intently to or you were talking to somebody, you might not even notice it or haven't even enough attention to fuel this, right? So it's not so much the event as much as it is our what to the event? A reaction, which is born out of the fact that we are to some extent resisting. We didn't want it to. Now sometimes there's fear born out of a good reason, but usually the fear does not benefit itself by speeding up and cutting the person off, right? Although people will do that because fear very quickly turns into anger. Anger is much more manageable experience than fear. Fear is trembling. Anger is like, I'm going to take action. In some environments, that's very useful. When we're in traffic, it's not. There's a part of us that doesn't know the difference. There's a part of us that actually can know the difference if we're paying attention and if we're practiced. So a couple things. First of all, in many ways, this is what? This is just a very nice, very nice, right? And here you are, right? And you can imagine what happens to this snow globe at these moments. But it's not the moment. It's not what's happening in the moment, right? I told you so. I'm feeling sad that you said that. I'm not saying you need to say that in response, but trust me, it's a game changer. What? What are I didn't mean to make that. Right? So, when we practice mindfulness, in the various forms that we practice it, it's like, by the way, you ever have it where you're just sitting like this and say, oh, I'm going to do a mindfulness practice? Oh, I'm going to do a mindfulness practice. Because I want to relax. But we know better, right? We know better. Maybe we'll relax. Maybe we'll feel more calm. Often I do, not always. I'm not forcing the calm. I'm not forcing the relaxation. I'm perhaps steadying my mind. That is a clarifying, steadying experience. But I lower or close my eyes. So this is the inner world of Scott. We've been practicing for 28 years. This may be a letdown. And then I remember that thing my father told me. That wasn't the nicest thing. The event. It was a thought. Note this, the event was actually a thought. No one has to be cutting me off. I'm just remembering something. And then I begin to have what? Thoughts. I begin to have that conversation with myself. And then as I'm saying, this is so unfair, I can't believe that happened. By the way, I just had a thought, like I should say I have a loving, wonderful relationship with my father. Like, I'm actually having a thought that says I should clarify this. Like, how bizarre is that? But I'm sort of aware of it. But like Rob, I couldn't help myself. I had to say apple. And then as I'm thinking about it more and more, I begin to have what? Some feelings. I begin to get angry and irritated. And then I begin to have sensations in my body, right? Tension, tightness. And then I begin to think to myself, oh, and I get up. And I'm like going to my text message and say, I don't think that that's right. And I blah, blah, blah. And, or I'm just waiting for that to happen, right? But technically, if I'm doing the practice the way we're interested, I'm sort of here. Right? Why am I here? Why do I say I'm positioning myself? That you're positioned here. Thoughts, feelings, and sensations. And here we are. Why there? Yeah.
You're noticing, but you're not necessarily in the middle of it yet. You're kind of just noticing that you're having it.
Okay, well, actually, very good point. I could be right smack dab in the middle of it. Right? I could be smack dab in the middle of it. If I weren't practicing focused attention or open monitoring, and I were sitting at my desk getting, oh, I'm going to read this interesting article by John Kabat-Zinn, and all of a sudden it comes to me, and I go, oh, I'm lost in that, right? So notice the difference. I'm not in that moment doing this. A thought came along, like somebody cutting you off in traffic, but you cut yourself off, and whoosh, there you go. So here we are saying, so let me practice for these moments, if for nothing else. Because here, when you lower or close your eyes, You are going to have thoughts, for sure. You are going to have feelings, for sure. Like clouds, the thoughts and feelings will come and go, but they're going to keep coming. Some of them are going to be pleasant, and like fluffy clouds on a beautiful day, and some of them are going to be, like the stormy lightning. It all comes and goes. You're going to have sensations in your body. You're going to have a tension and tightness. Why do you speed up and cut the person off? Why do you give them the finger? Why do you do that? Because it feels good. We're doing it to feel good. This is bottling up, so we do something to feel good. But when we sit and practice, we say, here I am. Who knows what thoughts are going to come? Who knows what feelings are going to come? Who knows? But am I going to be moving to here? I may be plotting it. That's another thought, right? That probably can feel good, right? So as I plot revenge, I begin to feel better, right? But what we're interested in doing is saying, let me be aware of all of this. Let me be aware, to Rihanna's very important observation. We may not be, because it takes skill. It also takes a capacity to, what's it going to feel like if you're replaying in your head, if you're ruminating? One of you is going to be writing a very interesting paper on rumination, a very important topic. You start thinking about something from the past. It didn't go right. You're resisting the fact that it didn't go the way you wanted it to. Unpleasant, undesirable. And then you start having other thoughts and other thoughts and other thoughts and other thoughts, and it's feeling more and more challenging and more stressful, and feeling more and more in your body tension. And just because your mind isn't here, it's there. But we're practicing noticing when we go somewhere else, when we leave where we are. And if you're practicing, sometimes it will feel uncomfortable. Why wouldn't it? If you're sitting not practicing mindfulness and you're having an argument with that person, that's not going to feel good, right? Until you say, I can't take this, and you walk out or you say something or they go forward or whatever it is, and even that usually doesn't feel so good. And if you are sitting and reading and having that in your mind, unaware of it, that's not going to feel good. But when we sit and we say, let me practice this, why would it feel good? You're pretty much having the same experience. But what you're doing is you're saying, but the opportunity to actually do something to feel better, I'm going to hold off on, so I can come back to the actual experience. And if we've been practicing, and as you have been practicing, what happens to that thought of revenge because that person's so terrible in time?
Goes away.
It fades away. Now, whether you bring it back, whether you come back to it, that depends on other things, but it's gone. And the feelings, the anger, the frustration, the resentment, what happens to them sooner or later? They're gone. Now, I'm not saying that there's not something to do about what was said. Maybe there is something to do. But what quality of mind and body do you want to have when you're making those decisions and when you're executing on them?
Clarity.
Clarity. And a whole lot of what's in here. Compassion, aware, noticing, curious, wonder, confident, right? It's not about, this isn't a touchy-feely feel. This is, so, what's a takeaway? We'll be leaving in just a moment or two. I'm sensitive, I'm aware of our time, and I appreciate your indulgence. What's a couple of takeaways from this? This is the spiral. What's a couple of takeaways?
The more we practice mindfulness, the better we can get at inserting the wedge of awareness between the incident or the getting cut off in traffic or the thought that comes into our head and our response to that.
Right. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is the power to choose our response. And there lies our growth of freedom. There's this wedge of awareness. It's not going to necessarily happen on its own, especially if we've just been going down that same argument with that same person year in and year out. Something has to kick in. And we're practicing something kicking in. So that when we play basketball, you have it where you're more skilled, Ben, or whoever plays basketball. When something happens, you're able to pivot and do something because you've been practicing it without having to try as hard. And so, too, we're practicing something so that in these real moments, and by the way, sitting and paying attention is also a real moment, but it doesn't seem to be as interesting, perhaps. We have that wedge of awareness so that we can then, perhaps, if nothing else, ease off a little bit. It's not like I'm awakened, I'm enlightened. It's I'm a little bit more in this direction and a little bit less in whatever we would call the other direction, right? What's another takeaway? Yes?
That anytime that we're in the snow globe, the thoughts and the feelings and the body sensations and our reactions, they are all like data points that can help us bring awareness to whatever stage we are on the wheel so we can make a choice to
Yes.
get out of it and then
Yes.
kind of like take a break to then choose what the response we want it to be.
Yes. One of the reasons that we are practicing this is so that we can actually get uncomfortable and stay there, right? Not just be so quick to react our way out of it. The other is, by doing that, we become more aware the heart rate's going up. You become more aware sooner that your heart rate's going up. You begin to have a series of thoughts. You become aware of that sooner. You have it where the opportunities for insight begin to arise because you begin to notice sooner, as well as the opportunity to ease off of it a little bit. What's another?